What if everything you're chasing is already within you, just waiting for you to act like it's already yours? Success doesn't show up when you're ready. It shows up when you decide to become the version of you who already earned it. The mindset comes first, the posture follows, and then the world begins to respond. Too many people wait for permission to lead, to speak, to show up with purpose. They wait for a title before they carry themselves with confidence. They wait for the money before they invest in their growth. But here's the truth. The man who rises is not the one who waits. It's the one who walks into every room as if he already belongs there. Stoic philosophy teaches that we become what we repeatedly do. So if you want to lead, speak like a leader. If you want to win, move like a winner. If you want to grow, act like growth is your identity. This video isn't about wishful thinking. It's about rewiring how you carry yourself, how you build mental discipline, daily habits, and unshakable self-belief. You'll learn how to apply the act as if mindset with clarity, purpose, and confidence, just like the greatest thinkers and doers before you. This isn't motivation. This is transformation. If you're ready to stop waiting and start becoming, then this is where it begins. Make sure you subscribe, and if this speaks to you, drop your story below. You're not alone, and your rise starts right now. 1. Dress the part before you get the part. Your clothes don't define your worth, but they declare your intent. The way you present yourself speaks long before your first word, and in most cases, it's the only conversation that matters. People notice posture, they notice presence, but more than anything, your mind notices it first. The moment you dress like you matter, you start moving like you matter. You stand taller, breathe deeper, speak clearer, not for them, but for yourself. That's not vanity. That's clarity. That's discipline. That's power. I used to think dressing up was unnecessary. I believed showing up in a t-shirt and jeans meant I was humble, down to earth, and maybe even more relatable. But the truth was, I wasn't dressing down because I was modest. I was dressing down because I didn't believe I was ready. I didn't believe I was already enough. That subtle belief showed in how I spoke, how I sat, and how little I asked of the world. Stoic philosophy taught me otherwise. It taught me that if the body obeys, the mind follows. And when the mind aligns with the vision, the world responds. You don't need to wear a suit to own your space, but you do need to dress like someone who respects his own journey. You don't wait for the opportunity to come before you clean yourself up. You prepare like the door will open today. You show up like someone already inside the room. And when you walk into a meeting, a shop, a conversation, or even your own workspace at home, your energy is already different. You're not proving anything to anyone. You're reinforcing everything to yourself. That's what Stoicism demands. Not approval, not applause, but self-command. Epictetus said, "Appear to be what you wish to be thought." This isn't about deception. It's about alignment. If you want to be seen as serious, carry yourself seriously. If you want respect, dress in a way that shows you respect yourself. Not with price tags, not with fashion trends, but with intention, simplicity, and discipline. Look around. How many times have you seen someone walk in, poorly groomed, head down, clothes thrown on like they lost a bet, and immediately you felt they didn't care? Now imagine that same person dressed with precision. Shirt pressed, shoes clean, eyes focused. Suddenly you assume they have direction. They haven't said a word, but they've already shaped the energy around them. That's the power of presence. That's the power of acting as if. Stoicism is not concerned with style, but it is obsessed with posture. Not physical posture alone, but mental and moral posture. The way you carry yourself reflects your self-discipline, your intent, and your philosophy. To act as if you are already successful is to start becoming it. One decision, one detail, one outfit at a time. You don't need success to behave with confidence. Confidence becomes your gateway to success. Confidence, in the Stoic mind, isn't a performance, it's an internal vow. You vow to show up at your highest level even when no one else is watching. Especially then. This is not about impressing others. It's about reminding yourself that the path you've chosen matters. When you put effort into your appearance, even on days when no one sees you, you reinforce your standard. You show your subconscious that today is worthy, that you are worthy. You begin to speak, move, and decide from a place of self-respect rather than self-doubt. That shift is subtle, but over time it compounds into a different man entirely. There was a moment, I remember it vividly, when I stood in front of the mirror, halfway through putting on the usual plain hoodie and loose jeans. I stopped. I looked at myself and asked a different question. Not what's comfortable, but what would the man I'm becoming wear today? I reached for a button-up shirt, nothing fancy, but well-fitted and clean. And I noticed something. I stood straighter. I finished my to-do list. I spoke differently in a meeting. I looked people in the eye. That one change rippled through the day, not because of the shirt, but because of the state of mind that came with choosing it. And that's the heart of it. You're not dressing for admiration. You're dressing for alignment. You're not pretending, you're preparing. Your appearance becomes a mirror to your vision. And each time you choose to elevate how you show up, your vision becomes clearer, stronger, and more real. Like Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, your actions should be as if what you do matters, because it does. Even the way you tie your laces in the morning is a reflection of what you expect from the day. There is a kind of quiet dignity in showing up prepared, a calm presence in someone who respects every detail of his journey. The world might not applaud it, but the inner self remembers. And that's the audience that matters most, because the man who keeps his standards even in solitude is the one who cannot be shaken when the spotlight comes. So tomorrow morning, when you reach into the closet, don't ask what's easy, ask what's worthy. Don't dress like who you've been, dress like who you are becoming, not to impress anyone, but to remind yourself that this moment counts, that your path matters, and that success doesn't knock on the door of the unprepared. It finds the one already dressed to answer. 2. Make decisions from vision, not fear. Every major turning point in life begins with a decision. But the question is never just what to choose, it's what state of mind you're choosing from. Most people decide from fear. They pick the safer path, not because it moves them forward, but because it feels familiar. They say no to opportunity, not because it's wrong, but because it's risky. They hesitate, stall, and circle around the same problem for years, quietly hoping life will somehow grant them clarity without ever stepping into discomfort. But clarity never visits the one who hides from consequences. It only rewards those who dare to act. That's why the Stoics didn't focus on avoiding failure. They focused on aligning with purpose. When you decide from vision, you don't wait for certainty. You move with it. I remember watching a close friend wrestle with a decision that could have changed everything. He had a stable job, a decent income, and a routine that looked respectable on the outside. But inside, he was restless. He had an idea, something bold, something his current life couldn't contain. He'd sketched the plan 100 times, mapped out the budget, and even found partners who believed in it. Yet every time he got close to starting, he pulled back. Not because the vision was flawed, but because his fear whispered louder than his future. What if I fail? What will people say? What if I lose what I already have? So he stayed. And the idea, it waited, but the vision doesn't wait forever. One day it fades, and all that's left is regret, wearing the mask of logic. Stoicism teaches us that fear is a reaction. Vision is a decision. Epictetus said we are not disturbed by things, but by our thoughts about things. That's where the real war is, not outside, but within. You don't control the outcome, but you control the why behind your choice. When your why is rooted in fear, you shrink. You choose comfort over growth. When your why is vision, you expand. You move forward, even trembling, because you know the destination matters more than the discomfort of the path. You don't avoid risk, you calculate it. You don't silence fear, you outgrow it. And that begins by asking a better question. Not, what if it goes wrong? But, what if this takes me exactly where I'm meant to go? This shift isn't theoretical, it's deeply practical. Next time you face a choice, big or small, pause. Ask yourself one question. Is this decision leading me toward the man I'm becoming or protecting the version I'm trying to outgrow? When you frame life through the lens of your highest vision, fear loses its grip. You stop negotiating with doubt. You stop outsourcing your future to your past. And you begin to live with a sharper kind of discipline. Not the discipline of punishment, but of precision. You take steps that match your destination, not your insecurities. Every time you act from fear, you reinforce that fear has authority. You teach your mind that doubt is your compass, and over time, that mindset becomes your prison. But when you act from vision, even in uncertainty, you reinforce that your purpose has power. You build trust in yourself, and that trust becomes your freedom. That's why Stoic philosophy isn't passive, it's active. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for conditions to be perfect. He wrote, decided, and led in chaos. Why? Because inner clarity doesn't depend on outer peace. It depends on the internal command. And command begins with how you choose. The next time you find yourself shrinking or stuck in indecision, go back to the vision. Not the emotion of the moment, not the imaginary worst-case scenario. Go back to what you're here to build. The business, the body, the relationship, the legacy. Ask, does this move bring me closer, or does it just make me feel safe? Because comfort and vision rarely share the same road. One soothes you, the other stretches you. You can't grow by staying where you've always been. One of the most powerful truths I've learned is this. The man who leads his life doesn't always feel ready, but he chooses like he is. He trains himself to act, not impulsively, but intentionally. Not blindly, but boldly. He stops framing decisions through fear of loss and starts framing them through alignment with purpose. It's not about reckless risk. It's about calculated, consistent movement toward what matters. Even small decisions, what time you wake up, how you spend the first hour of your day, who you respond to, send a message to your subconscious. Are you leading or are you hiding? And you'll know the difference, even in silence. Because when you choose from fear, there's always a lingering tension. But when you choose from vision, there's a quiet peace, even if the path ahead is hard. Because deep down you know you're no longer betraying yourself. That is the core of Stoic discipline, not emotional control for the sake of appearing calm, but decision-making that honors your potential even when no one sees it but you. So if you're standing at a crossroads today, uncertain, anxious, unsure, don't ask what feels safest. Ask what honors your future. Let that question guide you. Let it cut through noise and hesitation, because your life is being built decision by decision. And the quality of those decisions is shaped not by chance, but by courage. You don't need to see the whole path, but you do need to walk the next step as it leads to something worthy. Because it does. And if you keep moving from vision, one day you'll look back and realize fear never had the power you thought it did. 3. Build a routine that matches a high performer. You cannot carry the results of a high performer while living by the habits of a procrastinator. That tension will tear you in two. You'll dream of momentum, yet live in delay. You'll want clarity, yet begin each day in chaos. The gap between who you are and who you want to become isn't talent, it's routine. Until your daily systems rise to match your vision, success will feel just out of reach, no matter how hard you try. Discipline is not punishment, it's design. It's choosing to build a structure strong enough to support the weight of the life you say you want. Every morning is a fork in the road. One direction leads back into patterns you promised to outgrow. The other leads forward into structure, focus, and intention. Which one you choose doesn't depend on motivation. It depends on who you believe yourself to be. If you still see yourself as someone chasing success, you'll wake up as a passenger. But when you act as if success is already part of your identity, your morning becomes a command. That's why the Stoics woke with purpose. They didn't stumble into the day. They shaped it. Marcus Aurelius wrote his thoughts before the world could shape them. Seneca used time as a currency, spending it wisely, measuring it precisely, and refusing to waste it on distractions. Because the man who doesn't control his routine will be ruled by someone else's. Success is not one choice. It is the repeated, intentional decision to act with clarity before the world tempts you to forget. The routine you build is not just a schedule. It is your philosophy, practiced in motion. Do you want to lead? Lead your morning. Do you want to grow? Protect your focus. Do you want peace? Master your preparation. There is no breakthrough coming to someone whose first hour is hijacked by scrolling, reacting, or avoiding. The first hour is sacred, not because it's early, but because it sets the tone for everything that follows. If your first move is weak, the rest of the day leaks power. But if your first hour is disciplined, focused, and intentional, your mindset becomes unshakable, no matter what chaos follows. A high-performing life isn't built on big decisions. It's carved in the small, silent ones. When you choose to show up, it's easier to delay. When you choose to write, even when no one's reading. When you sit in silence instead of numbing discomfort. These moments don't look impressive, but stacked over weeks, months, years, they compound into an identity you can't fake. And that identity begins with the routine you refuse to compromise on. Not perfect, not glamorous, just unshakable. So what does this look like in practice? It means defining your morning, not by chance but by command. Wake up with intention, not reaction. Putting your phone aside long enough to meet yourself before the world meets you. Reading something that sharpens you, not numbs you. Moving your body, even if just for 10 minutes. Planning your day instead of hoping it works out. Not because a routine makes you better than anyone, but because it reminds you who you're choosing to become. In Stoic thinking, every action is a vote. Each decision you make, every time you delay or follow through, every time you scroll or reflect, is casting a vote for who you will be. A high performer isn't born from ambition. He's forged by repetition. He doesn't wait for motivation. He creates systems so strong that they carry him even when his emotions fall behind. He doesn't ask how he feels. He follows what he committed to. That's the essence of self-mastery. And it doesn't begin in battle. It begins in your morning, in your breath, in your calendar. In the small moments, no one claps for them, but you carry them like armor. There's something deeply stoic in this. Because to build a routine is to reject the illusion of control over outcomes, and instead focus on what is always within reach, your process. You may not know when success will arrive, but you can know what time you'll wake up. You can control what you read, how you move, what you avoid, who you choose to become in the first hour of your day. And if that first hour looks like discipline, the rest will follow its lead. The Stoics believed in aligning thought with action and purpose with rhythm. They knew that greatness isn't found in grand gestures, but in the ordinary done exceptionally well. So the question is simple. Does your routine reflect the life you're building, or does it mirror the one you've outgrown? When you act as if you're already successful, your days stop looking accidental. They begin to move with structure. You say no with more clarity. You start faster. You finish stronger. Because you're no longer trying to be the man who shows up. You are the man who shows up. And every day becomes a statement of identity, not intention. Let the world sleepwalk. Let them wonder when success will come. But not you. You'll rise before the doubt. You'll act before the fear. You'll build a rhythm so consistent, so grounded in purpose, that eventually even your failures move in the direction of progress. Not because you're chasing something, but because you're already becoming someone. And it all begins not in the vision, but in the routine that honors it. 4. Talk like the leader you want to be. You don't have to wear the title to speak like a leader. You don't need permission to carry the voice of someone with vision. Real leadership doesn't come from position, it begins in language. Because words shape perception, and perception shapes influence. The way you speak tells the world how serious you are about your path, how clearly you see it, and how ready you are to walk it. But more than that, it tells you. Before anyone else follows, your mind listens first. The tone, the rhythm, the weight behind your words. These are not just tools of persuasion, they are blueprints of identity. I once watched a junior employee lead a team meeting while the actual manager was away. He wasn't the oldest in the room, nor the most experienced, and he didn't try to act like he was. But the moment he spoke, the room leaned in. Not because he was loud, but because he was clear. He didn't ramble. He didn't fill the silence with apologies or qualifiers. He said exactly what was needed, no more, no less. Here's what we know, here's what needs to happen, and here's how we move. That's all it took. At that moment, he wasn't imitating a leader. He was one. And everyone felt it, because leadership is felt in language before it's proven by results. In Stoic philosophy, your words are the first test of your inner control. Epictetus reminded his students not to waste speech on what doesn't serve the soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, Not to flatter, not to impress, but to clarify. Because when your words are aligned with your values, your voice becomes steady, even in chaos. That's the core of emotional control. Not silence, but sound that's precise. And when you speak with precision, you gain presence. Not by dominating, but by anchoring the room. The mistake most people make is thinking that a powerful speech has to be forceful. You have to be loud to be respected. But true command doesn't come from volume, it comes from weight. And the weight comes from intention. A single calm sentence, when rooted in clarity, lands deeper than a storm of noise. Especially in difficult moments, the one who can speak without panic, without aggression, without retreat, that's the one others will listen to. Not because they're scared of him, but because they trust him. And that trust begins in how he communicates, not just with others, but with himself. How do you speak to yourself when you fail? How do you narrate your mornings? What words fill your mind when no one is watching? That's where leadership starts. Self-talk is the foundation of mindset. Most people lose the battle before the day even begins because they wake up and whisper defeat. I'm not ready. I don't have what it takes. Maybe tomorrow. But a leader speaks differently, even internally. I don't have the answer yet, but I will find it. I'm not perfect, but I'm showing up. This moment matters. I choose how I carry it. This kind of language isn't self-help fluff. It's strategic. It builds mental clarity. It sharpens your resolve. Over time, it rewires how you move through the world. Do you want to act as if you're already successful? Then begin by speaking as someone who respects his own voice. Eliminate hesitation fillers. Cut back on excuses. Replace emotional reactions with thoughtful responses. You don't have to be robotic. You have to be intentional. High performers don't speak to impress. They speak directly. And the more clarity you bring to your language, the more certainty you bring to your decisions. It's not about charisma, it's about command, the ability to align words with action. And this applies everywhere, in meetings, on phone calls, in conflict, but also in solitude. Because who you are when no one is watching reveals how seriously you take your path. When you practice speaking with purpose, whether it's journaling, self-talk, or conversation, you begin to train your subconscious to follow conviction, not confusion. And from there, your behavior shifts. You stop reacting, you start responding, you stop doubting, you start deciding, and your presence begins to reflect something deeper than confidence. It reflects alignment. Stoic communication is about saying less but meaning more. Every word becomes a reflection of value. Every sentence is a reminder of self-control. And when your voice carries this tone, not of ego, but of grounded clarity, you don't have to ask for influence. It arrives. People want to follow those who sound like they know where they're going. People want to trust those who speak as if truth matters more than image. And people want to stand with those whose words match their walk. So speak like the leader you want to become. Not in show, but in substance. Let your language echo your discipline. Let your tone mirror your vision. And let every conversation, whether external or internal, be a training ground for strength, clarity, and calm. Leadership doesn't wait for a title. It lives in your voice. And when your words start moving like someone who's already arrived, the rest of your life begins to follow. 5. Surround yourself with people who reflect your next level. If you want to rise, stop standing in circles that keep you small. No matter how disciplined you are, no matter how strong your mindset feels in solitude, the people you consistently surround yourself with will either accelerate your rise or slowly pull you back into patterns you swore you'd left behind. Energy is contagious, conversation is programming, and the environment, more than ambition, decides your ceiling. You cannot expect to think like a winner, speak like a builder, or act like a leader when you're constantly surrounded by those who question your vision, distract your focus, or dismiss your growth. A powerful identity cannot thrive in a powerless atmosphere. The Stoics understood this long before we put labels on influence. They chose their company deliberately. Seneca warned of wasted time and corrupted thinking when spent in the wrong crowd. Marcus Aurelius reflected deeply on the importance of aligning with those who live by virtue, not noise. Stoic strength is not only about withstanding the external world, but also about selecting the internal voices you allow to shape your world. You become what you absorb, and if you absorb chaos, you will live in chaos, even if your goals are noble. There's a silent agreement that forms when you spend time with people. Whether spoken or not, you start to mirror their rhythm. You pick up their vocabulary. You align with their urgency or their apathy. You feel what they normalize. If they normalize delay, distraction, and discontent, don't be surprised when your potential begins to rust from within. But the opposite is just as true. Surround yourself with those who speak in clarity, act with direction, and hold themselves to higher standards, and you'll rise. Not because you suddenly became stronger, but because you stopped anchoring your mind to the weight of the past. Your circle doesn't just shape your day, it shapes your destiny. It takes courage to shift your environment. Not because people will stop you, but because you'll have to outgrow the identity that fits inside that old circle. You'll have to stop playing small for the sake of staying comfortable. You'll have to say no to familiar invitations and predictable conversations. You'll be misunderstood by those who once applauded your mediocrity but now question your movement. But the cost of discomfort now is the price of becoming later. And in the words of the Stoics, that cost is always worth paying if it means living with virtue, clarity, and inner command. Sometimes, the only difference between staying stuck and rising higher is proximity. Not talent, no luck, not timing, just the presence of people who expect more from you than excuses. People who ask better questions, who doesn't let you sit too long in your own self-doubt, who looks at your goals not with disbelief, but with calm certainty, as if they were already inevitable. That kind of circle rewires your mind, not with pressure, but with possibility. Because when you sit with people who've walked where you want to go, your fear loses its voice. And that's when momentum returns, not in solitude, but in shared fire. This doesn't mean abandoning kindness or cutting ties with everyone you know. It means becoming intentional. It means guarding your environment like your future depends on it, because it does. It means recognizing which voices in your life nourish your growth and which ones slowly poison your belief. It means seeking out those who sharpen you, people who speak the truth, challenge your comfort, and remind you that you don't have to lower your standards to be accepted. You elevate your space, and eventually your space elevates you. And yes, this work is uncomfortable. It feels lonely before it feels aligned. But remember, solitude isn't the same as isolation. When you walk with vision, not everyone will come. That's okay. This journey isn't about collecting company. It's about collecting alignment. Better to walk alone toward your next level than sit comfortably in a circle that never grows. Better to be temporarily misunderstood than eternally stuck. Because as Stoic thought reminds us, approval is not the goal. The truth is. And the truth is, your circle will always echo your standards. Lower the standard and the echo becomes noise. Raise it and the echo becomes power. Do you want to act as if you're already successful? Then stop asking for permission to leave environments that no longer reflect your identity. Stop watering dead roots. Stop justifying habits born from small minds. Instead, align with those who challenge your thoughts, respect your vision, and live with the same kind of daily discipline you're trying to build. Let your energy be shaped by those who've already built what you're working toward. Not because they have the answers, but because they remind you how to ask the right questions. So, take inventory. Who are the voices closest to your mind? What kind of standards surround your goals? Do your conversations sharpen your focus or scatter it? Do the people around you reflect your future or repeat your past? That's not judgment. That's awareness. Awareness leads to clarity, and clarity, applied with courage, leads to a new life. You don't have to rise alone, but you do have to choose who rises with you. Because in the end, it's not just your habits that build your future. It's the company that holds you to them. 6. Visualize, then execute with energy. Everything you want begins with a picture, one only you can see. Before the world applauds you, before anyone believes in your path, before results show up, there must be an image so clear in your mind that it becomes undeniable. Every person who's built something extraordinary started there. Not with resources, not with confidence, with vision. A mental movie played on repeat. A vivid frame of what could be held with such intensity that it pulled action out of them, even when fear screamed louder than certainty. That's how real success begins, not from motivation, but from clarity. Not from chance, but from inner command. You don't need more hype, you need a clearer picture. Once you have it, you need to move like it's already unfolding. That's what separates those who merely wish from those who execute. The ones who make it don't wait to feel ready. They see it first, then act like they're already in motion. Stoic philosophy calls for internal control, and clarity of vision is the most powerful kind. Because when your mind knows where you're going, your body stops hesitating. Your habits stop drifting. Your discipline sharpens. The fog lifts. And even when things get hard, you're no longer reacting blindly. You're responding with direction. Motivation fades. It was never designed to last. But vision endures. Because vision is not a feeling, it's a structure. It gives meaning to routine. It gives fuel to fatigue. It reminds you why discomfort is worth it. Without that image burned into your mind, you'll keep looking around for signs, waiting for someone else to validate your next move. But when you're aligned with your vision, the noise dies down. You no longer need the outside world to give you permission. You're already acting from the inside out. Do you want to act as if you're already successful? Then you must see yourself succeeding long before it happens. Not vaguely, not someday, clearly, specifically, with texture. What do your mornings look like? How do you walk into a room? What kind of language do you use? Who are you surrounded by? How do you handle pressure? The more clearly you define that version of yourself, the more naturally you'll move like him, because your subconscious doesn't resist what feels familiar. And the way to make success familiar is to visualize it so vividly that it becomes your default blueprint for action. The Stoics believe that the mind must be trained just like the body, that you don't wait for calm, you cultivate it. And the same is true for success. You don't wait to become a man of vision, you build it through mental discipline, through quiet rehearsal, through daily focus. Visualization is not fantasy, it's a rehearsal. It's a psychological warm-up for reality. Once the mind accepts the picture, your decisions begin to shift. You start choosing foods, people, environments, conversations, and habits that align with where you're going, not where you've been. But vision alone is not enough. Clarity without execution is still hesitation. Once the image is locked in, you move. You don't negotiate with the day. You don't argue with the challenge. You attack it. Energy becomes your weapon. Because there's nothing more dangerous than a man with a mission and momentum. Not frantic energy, not emotional bursts, calm, focused, deliberate fire. A man who visualizes with intensity and then moves with discipline is unstoppable. He doesn't wait for the right moment. He turns the moment he has into the right one. And you don't need hours to start. 3 minutes of focused visualization each morning is enough to center your mind before the world tries to pull it apart. Sit in silence. Close your eyes. Breathe deep. See the version of yourself who no longer doubts, who no longer waits, who no longer apologizes for wanting more. Feel what it's like to act with full certainty. Picture the conversations, the rooms, the contracts, the way you carry your body under pressure. Then open your eyes and take the first step as if that version is already breathing through you. Because he is. You don't become him someday. You access him daily. That's what vision makes possible. There's a reason the most successful people seem calm. It's not that they never struggle, it's that they've rehearsed their next level so many times that even chaos feels familiar. While others panic, they remain grounded, because they've already lived it in their minds. They've already seen the obstacle, overcome it, and pushed forward. That's the kind of mental strength that Stoicism sharpens. You train your perspective so deeply that the world no longer dictates your pace, you dictate it. And that begins with the vision you refuse to let go of. You don't need perfect timing, you don't need more tools, you need to see what matters, then move with everything you've got. See it, say it, do it, repeat. That's the rhythm, that's the work. And every day you show up with clarity and act from that place, you shrink the distance between who you are and who you're meant to be. The man who walks with vision is never lost. Even when the road turns, even when the crowd doubts, even when progress feels invisible. Because his steps are not based on what's easy, they're based on what's true. So before tomorrow begins, take time tonight to visualize what you're really building. Then, when the alarm rings, don't wait to feel ready. Get up. Move like it's already real. Speak like it's already yours. Carry yourself like you've already arrived. Because one day soon, you will. 7. Celebrate small wins like big milestones. Success is not something you stumble into one morning. It's something you build, one decision at a time. If you only allow yourself to celebrate when the final result arrives, you'll burn out long before it ever does. Because the journey to becoming is not paved with constant breakthroughs. It's stitched together by quiet victories, tiny moments of alignment, days when you show up without applause, mornings when you could have snoozed but didn't, nights when you stayed with the work instead of numbing the doubt. Those moments matter. And when you learn to celebrate them, you train your mind to stay in the game long enough to win it. Most people think a celebration is a reward for the end. But real growth demands that you reward the process. Not because every small step is dramatic, but because every small step is directional. It signals to your subconscious that progress is happening. That effort matters. That momentum is being built. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote not to impress himself with achievements, but to remind himself that every action rooted in discipline was already a triumph. That the fight to stay aligned, even on mundane days, was a victory in itself. Because excellence isn't forged in the spotlight. It's born in repetition, in resilience, in the daily decision to keep moving forward even when no one notices. When you acknowledge the small wins, you don't just feel good, you build identity. You reinforce who you are becoming. The man who trains daily is no longer trying to get in shape. He is disciplined. The one who wakes up early isn't chasing structure, he is structured. Every act, when repeated and celebrated, becomes who you are. And when your identity shifts, your actions become automatic. You don't have to force momentum anymore, it carries you. But if you wait until you're finished to validate yourself, you risk never finishing at all. You'll constantly feel like it's not enough, like you haven't earned your own respect yet. That mindset kills long-term success, because the journey is long, results take time, and without emotional fuel, discipline starts to feel like punishment. That's where most people quit, not because they lack potential, but because they never learned how to build internal momentum. They were always chasing the finish line, never realizing that power comes from learning how to find meaning in the middle. Celebrate the morning you got out of bed on time. Celebrate the day you said no to a distraction. Celebrate the moment you spoke up when it would have been easier to stay silent. Not with confetti, but with awareness, with stillness, with a quiet recognition that today you stayed loyal to your future. That's not pride, that's alignment. And that alignment becomes your edge. Because when others need validation to keep going, you'll already be fueled by your own commitment. You'll move without needing praise. And that makes you unshakable. In Stoic thought, nothing is too small to be meaningful if done with intention. Seneca reminded us that the quality of life is not measured by size, but by depth. The same applies to achievement. A single honest decision, a single focused hour, a single kept promise, they carry more weight than public displays of ambition, because they are real. And when you recognize them, you build something deeper than results. You build self-trust. That's the foundation of long-term growth. Not hype, not noise. Just a steady, unshakable belief that you're on the path and that every step matters. This isn't about pretending small things are big. It's about respecting the fact that big things are built from small things. That the man you admire isn't successful because of one massive leap. He's successful because of 10,000 invisible steps. Steps no one saw, but he celebrated anyway. That mindset keeps you moving. It keeps you sharp. And most of all, it keeps you from chasing external validation that was never designed to sustain you in the first place. So shift how you see your journey. Don't just track your goals, honor your grit. Don't just look forward to the next breakthrough, look inward at what you've already overcome. Let each small win be a checkpoint, a quiet pause, a reminder that you're still in it, still fighting, still becoming. Because that's where real pride lives, not in being finished, but in refusing to quit. The world may not clap when you do the right thing, but you can, and you should. Every time you acknowledge your own progress, you create emotional gravity. You build a system that pulls you back toward your standard, even when motivation fades. You train your mind to associate effort with identity, not pressure, but purpose, not performance, but consistency. And that mindset doesn't just help you achieve more, it helps you sustain what you've achieved. So the next time you do something right, pause. Take it in. No matter how small it feels, it counts. It stacks. It shapes. You don't need to earn the right to feel proud. You need to notice when pride is already deserved. That one internal shift can keep you going when everything else tells you to slow down. And in the long run, that's how you win. Not all at once, but step by step, celebrating the man you're becoming every single time you choose to rise. 8. Walk with purpose. Even if the destination isn't clear yet. Not every step needs to know the whole map, but every step must carry intent. That's how you move forward in life. Not by waiting for perfect clarity, but by refusing to walk aimlessly. Purpose isn't always about knowing exactly where you're headed. It's about choosing not to drift. You don't need to see the mountaintop to start climbing. You just need to stop circling the same valley. When your direction is blurry, your discipline must become sharper. Because even a half-lit path can carry you far if your feet are steady. In Stoic philosophy, purpose is not a grand announcement. It's a quiet, daily commitment to walk with meaning. You may not know what's waiting a mile ahead, but you do know the man you want to be when you get there. And that's enough. The Stoics didn't obsess over controlling the future. They obsessed over commanding the present. Over showing up in this moment with strength, clarity, and presence, especially when outcomes were uncertain. Because in uncertainty, you don't lose progress, you lose posture. You don't fall behind, you fall into hesitation. And that's what keeps most people stuck. Not a lack of answers, but a lack of intent. Acting as if you're already successful doesn't mean pretending everything's figured out. It means walking with the posture of someone who's willing to meet the unknown with strength. It means stepping forward, even when your hands are empty, because you know who you're becoming matters more than what you're carrying. You don't wait for certainty to appear. You build it through motion. Each decision made in alignment with your values creates momentum. Each hour spent building instead of waiting creates belief. You don't stumble into clarity. You walk into it, one purposeful step at a time. Most people stall because they think the destination defines the journey. But it's the other way around. Your rhythm defines your path. Your posture shapes your future. Even if you don't know what your end goal looks like yet, you know what integrity feels like today. You know what it means to wake up and take responsibility for your mind, your actions, and your environment. That's where purpose lives, not in some distant moment of success, but in how you handle this hour. The man who controls that controls everything. There will be seasons where nothing feels clear, where doubt grows louder than logic, where motivation dries up. That's where walking with purpose becomes vital. You don't have to feel powerful to act with power. You don't have to feel inspired to honor your values. Some of your greatest breakthroughs won't come after clarity. They'll come before it, forged in the fire of uncertainty and shaped by the decision to keep going anyway. Because when you move with quiet purpose, the world responds, not instantly, but inevitably. This is where Stoic practice becomes your compass. When life offers no clear direction, you default to what you can control: your discipline, your breath, and your actions. You strip away the noise. You stop chasing meaning and start creating it through service, simplicity, and strength. You choose to make every step intentional, even if it feels small. You let your consistency speak louder than your confusion, and little by little, the road forms under your feet, not because you waited, but because you walked. You don't need to announce your arrival. You need to build your pace. When others stop to question everything, you keep showing up. When others shrink from uncertainty, you meet it with grounded energy. Not arrogance, not delusion, just quiet resolve. That's the kind of power that doesn't fade. That's the kind of leadership that doesn't rely on external conditions. Because you're no longer seeking direction from the outside, you've committed to creating it from within. There's a kind of calm that emerges when you know you're walking with purpose, even without a perfect plan. The need to rush dissolves. The anxiety to compare disappears. You stop asking, "Am I behind?" and start asking, "Am I aligned?" And that shift, more than anything, puts you back in control. Not of the outcome, but of the only thing that's ever been yours to command: your mindset, your routine, your next step. The Stoics would tell you this: if your values are intact, your path is already noble. Even if it's unclear, if your actions are honest, your future will reveal itself in time. So stop looking for the destination to give you permission to move. Start moving like your presence already matters. Because it does. Every purposeful step you take rewrites who you are. Every aligned decision you make becomes a signal to your future. I'm ready for what's next. So don't wait to know it all. Don't wait to feel certain. Don't wait for signs that everything is working. The only sign you need is the one inside you, the pull to become more, the refusal to stay still, the quiet fire that says this matters. Honor that. Move with that. And even if the destination isn't clear yet, you'll get there. Not because you knew the map, but because you refuse to stand still. Success does not begin the day others recognize your value. It begins the moment you act as if your value has already been earned. Every decision, every routine, every word you speak, these are not random choices. They are bricks. They are steps toward the future you say you want. But that future will never arrive if you keep walking like you don't belong in it. You've just walked through the blueprint. Dress with intention. Choose from vision, not fear. Build habits that mirror the mindset of a high performer. Speak with clarity and lead with presence. Surround yourself with voices that lift, not limit. Visualize daily. Act with energy. Celebrate every quiet victory. And most of all, walk like your life already matters, even if the final picture isn't fully clear. Because it does, and it always has. This is the daily Stoic discipline, calm, focused, and powerful, not in pursuit of perfection, but in alignment with purpose. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You don't have to wait until the world tells you it's time. You are the signal. The way you carry yourself trains your subconscious mind to believe, to endure, and to keep moving, especially when doubt shows up. So take these principles and live them. Start small, repeat often. Let your actions build the proof that your mind already holds. And as you do, remember, you're not alone in this. Many are walking the same path. If this spoke to you, I invite you to share your journey in the comments below. Let us hear your voice. When one person rises with purpose, it gives others permission to rise too.